You were feeling it. You were feeling it. Paul, right?
I am pumped.
Okay. Poison by Alice Cooper. It's like the best intro of any song that's ever happened. You only need the first 7 seconds. Huh. Oh my God. I literally walked out of the house like with an apron and in my winter coat and was like, oh, that's it. That's me done. Forgetting all of my tools, including a knife or any means with which to cut ingredients at all. Morgan already had to go out to Target and get me a knife. Like that is like the level that I'm operating at today. So I think it's probably safe to say we can only go up from here. So we're gonna go ahead and chop some of these aromatics up. They are key to building like a really fast sauce for these pork chops. This preparation, you're gonna sear them and then you're gonna like sauce them heavily. They're gonna finish cooking in that sauce. It's gonna be cooked through, point being. You only hear like really, really dorky people like me talk about bellies of knives. You know, what it refers to is like, see that like that curvature there? You know, that refers to like the profile of the knife. You know, I prefer a very flat profile. So like, you know, more of like a cleaver style knife, just because I'm a push cutter. And if you have like a lot of rock in your belly, there's a lot of like this kind of motion, a lot of like seesawing motion. Whereas when you have a flatter profile, it's just more of like a straight kind of linear motion. It's just a matter of preference. Nothing's like wrong per se. I almost always prefer to slice garlic as opposed to mince it. As soon as you start mincing garlic, unless you do like an outstanding job, I mean like really outstanding, you're gonna get little micro pieces and then you're gonna get big kind of chunks and then everything's gonna kind of cook in different amounts of time.
We've seen a lot of people microplaning garlic these days. How do you feel about that?
Man, Vanessa's asking all the hard questions today. I thought I was gonna like do some like underhand like softball stuff. You know, there is a lot of microplaning of garlic going on these days. The one thing I'll say is like when you microplane garlic, you unleash the beast. Okay, like you are rupturing and shredding cell walls left and right. You know, in the words of Brad, you are developing a shit ton of allicin. It's gonna be a very intense kind of preparation and you don't always want that. The thing about this recipe was like, you know, how do you take pork chops that, let's say like maybe aren't the best? And like, let's face it, like most pork chops don't have a ton of fat on them. This is a method that's gonna allow you to take a pork chop that's like perfectly fine and make it fantastic because we're gonna build a really flavorful sauce that's gonna kind of go anywhere. So if the chops are a little dry, no big deal. This recipe, you know, basically has you focus on developing really great browning just on one side of the pork chop. Inherently, there's gonna be a sort of like a prettier side to each pork chop, you know? Like in this case, like maybe I'll go with this side. There's a little bit more fat showing up here, so I wanna get a little more color and render a little bit more of that there. And then same thing on this side. So liberal amount of salt. Here's the pro move. Remember how Ralston was browning the chicken in that caramel? All right, sugar helps you caramelize things. So half teaspoon of sugar, when you come home with thin pork chops, you're not screwed because you sprinkle a little sugar on it, you're gonna get great browning. You know, we sort of decided that was like, you know, the pretty side. That's where we're going. Same thing over here. Look at that, look at the way they fit in the pan. Just saying, you know, because these pork chops are so fatty. So see that like that color, that's great. And this is gonna like, you know, go into, you know, really flavorful sauce. We're gonna talk about in a sec. So it's gonna kind of even out some of that, you know, so where it's like a little bit darker around there. But that's good. Like honestly, that's flavor, and we're not trying to do that to both sides. So I'm just gonna kind of like press some of this fat cap into there. All right, so I'm gonna flip that first guy. Sorry, it's a little painful there. All right, here we go, we're back. So I'm gonna turn the heat down to low. Pork chops are not done, but we're not stressing about it. That's the key thing, okay? So we've got good color on that second side. We're not trying to go crazy. I'm gonna pull these out. So we're gonna start with some clean fat in the pan to start to build our sauce. So shallot and garlic going in. So at this stage, I want to slow the cooking process down, okay? I want to, like we were talking about, like why we're not microplaning the garlic for this. Like I want the garlic to soften. I want it to start to toast just very lightly around the edges. The shallot is going to start to build sweetness and richness, okay, in our eventual sauce. A little pinch of salt, just to help things kind of release their moisture. The vinegar should taste like it came from a wine that you wouldn't mind drinking a glass of. So this is a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. That's going to help pull up the rest of the foam that's on the skillet. We're using the good stuff today. This is some of that Forum Cabernet Sauvignon vinegar. This stuff right here, really nice. Kelly went all out, and I really appreciate that. So there's our rosemary going in, tablespoon of capers, and then 1/2 cup of water. Most of the time, you're probably better off using fresh citrus because so much supermarket vinegar is just like, it just doesn't give you that much other than acidity. But a vinegar like this, ooh, it is rich, it's fruity, it's bright, it just has tons of dimensions to it. So I'm now emulsifying butter into this sauce. I'm doing it with constant motion because I really want it to emulsify with the sauce. I don't want it to simply melt and form a pool of fat separate from the sauce. The sharpness of that rosemary flavor, the vinegar. Oh, and we didn't even put the sugar in it. Kelly, come on.
Well, you can still add it now.
And I'm gonna add a teaspoon of sugar. So now that we have like our nicely emulsified sauce, we're gonna finish cooking this pork. The goal is the sauce is gonna stay nice and emulsified. I just added a splash more water just because it was getting a little bit over reduced, but having it a little bit more fluid at this stage is gonna help me start to baste that pork and let it cook through gently. With this, what I want is potatoes. I want like just like straight up simple roasted potatoes, something that's gonna soak up some of that gravy, whether it's like a mashed potato or a roasted potato, either way, I think it would be inspired. So I'm not flipping the pork chops because I'm just basting with this liquid. What is the recommendation for pork now? Is it 145? 140? We're gonna have to fact check this. I'm looking at Summer as though she's gonna have all the answers, but
I think it is 145.
I think it's like 145.
145.
145. Point being, like you can have a pork chop that's like not nearly taken to like 165, and it's not even like a safety issue. It's just like, do you prefer the texture that way? Do you prefer it, you know, a little bit juicier, a little bit like more moist? You don't have a thermometer, do you, Summer? This guy here is feeling pretty good to me.
I do have a thermometer.
What? Without a thermopen, I'm nothing. It's real sad. Anyway, I think that first one's done. I don't even know what's happening with this thermometer. You might as well bang 2 rocks together. We definitely have like a lot more give to that chop, so we're just gonna let it go, nice and slow. So I got bored of waiting for this dial thing to sort of finish, but I think we're good. Obviously, I'm not gonna leave this behind. We can plate this up. So yeah, you know what? I'm gonna like do it right, or sort of right, and carve on the cutting board here. Beautiful. So we still got like tons of juiciness there, but it's cooked. That is like a really solid medium. We've like lost like the pink, but like there's a good bit of juiciness there. And yes, I'm just gonna like, you know, use this as my knife. This is great. This is like so flavorful from the sauce. What I really like about this most of all is just that it's like, it's really simple, and I love that you can go from like nothing, you know, mostly kind of pantry ingredients, water as the base of your sauce, and then go to like this, you know, just with the addition of like some really nice pork chops. That's it, you know, sweet and saucy pork chops. Easy peasy. We did it.
We did it.
We did it. No, they don't teach Alice Cooper class in school.
School's out is not the theme.
No.
Is that your nightmare? Welcome to